Hello, good morning, friends. My name is Suhas Vora at the Electrical Department from the Sri Swaminarayan Institute of Technology. Now, the start with the new subject, switchgear and protections, and the first topic of the switchgear and protection is introductions to relay and the types of faults. So, we can start with what is the switchgear and the protection systems. First of all, we can know about the how it is worked. So we know that the power systems is widely used and very complicated systems. There are the various important and the costly equipment used to transmit the power from generations to the consumer. It means that there are the possibility of occurring a fault in the power systems. So it is very required to various steps taken to see that the fault and isolated or to remove the faulty parts of the equipment. So basically the power system can be divided into the three main parts. You can see the figures. Basically there are the three main parts: generating stations, which we know that the generation stations is the generate the 11 kV powers. Then load centers, different stage to transmit or the step up and step down the transformers. This one is called the load center, and the link joining. It means that these two load center between the joining, that this is called the load joining. So as we know that this one is the basic power system of the generating to the distribution systems. There are the different stage. Here you can see the different stage, and this stage is used a particular equipment. This equipment is called the switchgear systems. This equipment is costly and the most important part of the power system, so it must be requirement for the protections. So now basically the what is the now we can study about the switch gear and the consumers. So first of all we can know that the what is the good electric power system. So what is the good electric power system is that the electricity of the consumer is without any interruptions to every load connected to it. It means that generally the power transmit through the different stage, the high voltage transmissions line and the line are exposed. There may be changes of their breakdown due to some storms and falling of the external objects and the damage to the insulators. So this can result not only the mechanical damage but also in the electrical fault. So the protective relay and the relay system detect the abnormal conditions, and then to remove or isolate from the automatically this operate the switch gears or the equipment from the our power system as quick as possible. So the switch gear must be capable of interrupting the both the normal current as well as the fault current. So the protective relay on the other hand must be able to recognize the abnormal conditions in the power system and take a suitable step so there will be least possible disturbances to the normal operation. But relay have some disadvantage. The relay can take actions only after the fault has occurred. However, it means that some devices which can be expect and the prevent the major fault. Best example is that the transformer focus relay, which is capable of detecting the gas accumulations produced by a insufficient fault in the transformer. Now, basically, we know that the transmission systems is work the power source through the conductor in the generator, transformer, and transmission line to the load, and it is confined to this part by the insulator. The insulator, however, may break down either by effect of temperatures and age or by the physical accident, so that the current then follows an abnormal path, generally known as a short circuit or fault conditions. So first of all, we know that what is the fault, what is the definition of fault. So we can simply say that any abnormal operating state of the power system is known as a fault. So, fault in the general consists of the short circuit as well as open circuit. The open circuit fault are less frequent than the short circuit fault, because of we know that when the fault is occur at that time the infinite current passing through in our power system, and this infinite current is damage our power our system as well as the dangerous for the equipment. So that so basically the we know that the switch gears. So what is the part of the switch gears, what is the classification of the switch gears? So there are basically two types of switch gear: low voltage switch gear and high voltage switch gear. So what is the component of the low voltage switch gears? Yes, the first one is the switches. Different type of switches used in the power system equipment. The one example is the air brake type. It means the remove the our power system using the air brake type. Then after the isolator. Isolators means which one is the open over the transmissions line. Then fuse, we know that the fuse, relay, and circuit breakers. Now this one is the low voltage sides. Now if I consider the high voltage side switch gear system, the example is the oil switchings, the isolators, circuit breakers. Yes, HRC fuse up to the medium voltage, the lighting arresters, and current transformer and the potential transformer. Now we can study about the abnormality and the fault in the power system. So basically, abnormality. What is the abnormality? So we can say that when the power system is operating in properly, it is called the normal or healthy conditions. It means that in our power system the system will be stable, this is called the healthy conditions, and the system is unstable, this is called the abnormal conditions. So definitions of the abnormal conditions is the power system does not work always in the normal or healthy conditions. This is diverted from the its normal conditions sometimes. This is called it's the abnormal conditions. Yes. So what is the normal operations of a power system? So we can say that normal operations of the power system, we can consider that the voltage and current are balanced. It means that the three phase voltage are equal and the three phase current are also almost equal. Almost, because of we know that there are three phase systems have the every phase have the different consume the load or the power and the current, so that here we can say almost equal to the three phase current. The next one is the frequency of the supply is equal to rated frequency, is equal to rated frequency. It means that there is a very little change in a frequency. We know that in a Indian system the 50 hertz will be considered, so very less frequency is considered and changing of the main frequency or rated frequency. there is the no change in the voltage beyond some limit. The next one is the power flow in the desirable direction. It means we know that our power system and our electrical system, we can say that closed loop must be considered that. It means that the desirable directions must be particular forms. So the value of, and the next one is the value of current is equal to the rated value or less than it. Rated value and less than it. Now the next one is what is the abnormal conditions of the power system. So the first one, we can say that the abnormal condition is overloading of the equipment. Now this happen when the load on the equipment exceed beyond its rated capacity, so that due to this current of the equipment increases, more heated is produced and the insulations over the conductor is damaged. So in these conditions, this is called the overloading of the equipment. Unbalanced loading. Unbalanced loading means the current of all the three phases should be almost equal, but the system loses its stability when there is the unbalance of the current beyond some limit. So this one is called the unbalanced loading. Now the next one is the failure of prime mover in a power station. This one is the most important part of the power system, the failure of the prime mover. So generator is driven by the prime mover in the generating stations. When the prime mover stop running due to some reason, the generator is isolated from the bus bar, so the load on the other generator connected to the bus bar increase, which result in decrease in the frequency of the system. It means that the failure of the prime mover of the one system, so the this system load is divided by the other prime movers, and at that time the what is the effect, the frequency will be reduces. The next one is loose contact. We know that the human error, most of this one is occurs because of the human error. When the connections are loose, the arc is produced on the contacts and the large amount of heat is produced due to this. So these increase the voltage drop also. So these conditions is happen in the loose conditions, the loose contacts. And the last one is the over voltage surge. So what is the over voltage surge? When the load on the generator is reduced suddenly, its speed increase and more EMF is generated, which may damage the insulations of the armature winding. The excitation should be decreased immediately to prevent this. So next one is the causes of fault. We can know there are the physically abnormality and the fault. So now the which one is the causes of the fault occurs in a power systems. So first one is defect in insulation of the winding of a electrical equipment. It means that the insulation is provided over the conductor of all the three phases of the winding. So all the three phases are isolated from the one another and from the body of the equipment. When the insulation's level decreases beyond the some limit, it results either in phase to phase fault or phase to ground fault is occurs. The next one is the defect in underground cable. In the underground cable, the fault can occur due to a gain or voltage surge as discussed above. It means that we can know that if the fault occurs and the defect in the underground, the fault will be occur at that time the underground cable will be fault will be occurs. Yes. Now the next one is defect in overhead line. Pair conductor are placed over the insulator. In case of the overhead line, the conductor is grounded and the line to ground fault result when the insulator get purchased or there is a crack on the insulators. So that overhead line system, if the fault will be occur at that time the conductor is grounded and the line to ground fault is occur and the result of this the insulation get punctured or there is the crack on the insulators. And the last one is the defect in bus bar of the control panel. So bus bar are provided in the control panel of the subsystem. Sometimes the lizards or the chameleons enters the control panel and shorts the bus bar which result in fault. It means that the defect in the bus bars of the control panel of the substations is occurs when the not connected with of the bar is proper in the panel systems. Now the what is the effect of fault? So mainly the effect of fault is arc may be produced due to the fault, arc produced in the equipment due to the fault, and the large current flow due to short circuited. Also the motor take increase the current due to the reduced voltage, so motor are overheated. So basically the fault is divided between the two main classifications, the open circuit fault and short circuit fault, we know that. So open circuited there are the three subsystems: single phase open circuit, two phase open circuit, and three phase open circuit faults. And similar way, the short circuit is three phase fault, two phase fault, and single phase to earth fault. Now the consequence is a great reduce of the line voltage, damage causes to the element of the system by electric arc, damage to the other part due to overheating, disturbance of the stability of the electrical systems, and reductions in the voltage may fail the pressure coil of the relay. So now we can see that the different type of causes, different type of effect of the faults and consequence of the faults. So now the fault statistic, it means that in our total power systems which type of have the morely occurs in our power system. So here you can see that the overhead line have the 50% of fault will be occurred. In similar way the cables is the cable means the you can use generally the breakout of the cables and the others crack of the cables is only 10 percentage possibility of the fault. In similar way the switch gear is 50%, transformer is the 12%, ct and bt is the 2%, control equipment is a 3%, and the other miscellaneous is the 8%. So basically overhead line is fault will be occur is line to ground fault, line to line fault, line to line to ground fault, and the last one is the line to line triple line fault. The most dangerous fault is double line to ground fault in above power systems. Thank you students. I hope so you can learn today about the different type of faults and the basic of functions of the relay. If any query of these sessions, please contact me, which number is given in the screens, as well as if any questions about this topic, you can also send me the mail, which the email id given in your screen. Thank you.